Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Protodead podcast, where anything goes, but we have a strong focus on music, movies, books, and video games, and basically any form of media that we like to be entertained by. Please forgive any background noise that you may hear from our microphones, because we're family men and our families like to play too. I'm Protodead, your host, and my guest today is SunDevil Dave. What the hell's going on?
Not much. How you been?
I've been pretty good. Everything's been pretty good. We've been preparing for going to town and buying this meat, so we spent $153 on farm fresh beef today.
Oh man, that ought to be good though.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It didn't stretch nearly as far as I was hoping it would, but
Yeah.
buying it from a local farm where they raised it all local, and it was butchered local, and it was I'd like to believe that a lot of the stuff that we buy in stores is non-enhanced and shit like that too. But I don't know how many hormones and you know what I mean, like growth hormones and shit they pump in. But I mean, hell, they could be doing it at the local level too. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I try and shop for the healthiest stuff that I can. That's affordable, and it's just it gets harder and harder as time goes on. It seems, and we just did the same thing. I like told you before. We just went and got some ground beef at a local butcher and filled up a couple deep freezes, and hopefully that'll last for a while.
Yeah, a couple deep freezes full of
Yeah,
ground beef. Oh
yeah,
man. Yeah.
yeah.
You
So
talking like the
go
big
ahead.
tubes? Like, was it in the big?
No, these come prepackaged in 3-pound packages, and it's supposed to be 80/20 meat to fat. But man, they're really red. They look a lot. They look a lot different than 80/20 that you get at a grocery store. But tried one out last night. They're really good. I mean, didn't taste gamey or anything like that. So I
Yeah.
think it's going to be a winner.
Yeah, that's great. 80/20. So you need some of that fat in the meat.
Right, right.
Uh, to what? To make it more flavorful?
To give it a little bit more flavor to help it kind of stick together a little bit. And just it can get kind of bloody when it's just the straight meat, straight
Hmm.
muscle, I guess, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. What I think the last time we talked, we said we were going to talk about some video games or something today. Or
Yeah, we need to. We need to definitely do that. Do you
yeah,
you like to play the flight simulator quite a bit?
I do, and man, knock on wood, the last update seems to have really been a kind of a game changer. It's been real. I mean, it's been out since 2020, and just kind of a cluster the whole time. Just something always wrong and crashing to desktop, and it'll work one time and won't work another, and then you know there's lots of modifications to add to it, the third party um, software, and anytime you incorporate that into it, it seems like there was an issue. But as of right now, man, it's working really, really, really good.
Yeah, that's great. What is it? Microsoft Flight Simulator?
Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020,
Hmm.
and it utilizes Bing Maps for the scenery.
Hmm.
So pretty much you can fly anywhere in the world on it. You can take off any airport, land any airport. It's got live weather. It's got weather that you can manipulate. You can change the time of day. It's very, very immersive. If you've got kind of a game plan as to what you want to do, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And there's tons of different aircraft to fly, different scenarios. There's some built-in stuff, some kind of like more arcadey type of um, aspects to it, where you can do landing challenges and bush flights and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of fun. But I just find myself just finding an airport, getting prepped, take off, get up in the air, get my all my instruments in order, and let it fly, and then I'll get close to the airport and then land it. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no combat uh, scenarios for it. It's just straight piloting.
Yeah. It's 99.9% of what all people do when they fly planes.
Yep, Pretty much. Pretty
Right.
much. Yeah. So the setup that I've got is pretty cool for it. I've got a thruster, flight stick, pedals, and I have a chair that I have what's called a butt kicker on it, and it incorporates, when the bass hits a certain wavelength or something, it makes the seat vibrate. So, as an example, you can be sitting on the tarmac, and the noise is very realistic. And you can hit a button and open up the canopy on the plane, or open up a window on the plane, and the sound changes to where
Oh.
it's the engine noise is more.
Uh-huh.
And then with the seat, as you're rolling down the tarmac, if you see like a bump in the road, you're going to feel that bump when you drive over it. It's just crazy. So the seat doesn't articulate, it doesn't move left or right or up or down or anything like that, but it gives you enough kind of
feedback
to at least kind of fool you for a couple seconds.
That sounds really cool. It's called a butt kicker.
Butt kicker, yeah, that's the brand name. I know that there's other ones, but that's the one that I bought, and it installs through I just clamp it to the seat, and they say that it works best like on a swivel chair. I guess drummers use them a lot for feedback. So it runs through a preamp, and then I've got a subwoofer, and it's a cool setup, man. You'll have to come up and check it one of these days.
Yeah, sounds really cool. I wonder if they have that sort of support on a first-person shooter game. Like
They do. I think that people use them for racing chairs a lot, and I've heard that some of the more intricate ones, they'll put 4 of them on there to where you can feel every wheel hit like a pothole, that type of deal.
Oh shit!
Oh, I only needed one of them to get the results that I needed, so it's turned out pretty good. So yeah, I've been playing that. I downloaded Ark Survival Evolved. I played that for a couple years now.
Oh,
on the PS4.
Yeah.
And it was free on Steam, so I downloaded it off of Steam for my PC, and it's cool. I've only played like the single player version of it. I've never played it with other people, and I think that's the more enjoyable probably way to play it. So I'm looking for some others to join me on that.
Oh yeah, yeah. My kids played it quite a bit. I wanted to get into it, like I wanted to play it, but I just I don't know, man. My attention kept getting torn away. I would get about to the part where I had a stick hut made, and then somebody would come by and just fuck it all up. And
I think playing on your own server is the way to go. I've got that set up on the PS4 to do that, but I don't have that set up to do on the PC. I think that I'm probably gonna have to play on a public server on the PC, and I don't know how long that's gonna last. I typically don't like playing with people that I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, those games are maybe the game is a little bit less like Rust, but in a game like Rust, if there's a group that's close to you, that's bigger than you, that's on more often, then they're going to blow your doors in, and they're going to take all your shit, and you're going to wake up. You're going to log back into the game dead, and you don't have any shit. It's all fucking
or
gone.
in a cage somewhere. I've seen that where people will actually hijack your body and put you in a cage.
Yeah, I think in Ark you can drag people. But
it's crazy some of the stuff that you can do.
I do really enjoy in a survival game like that you basically inhabit an avatar in the game. So whenever you log out, they just go unconscious, like like the Matrix or whatever. Yeah, and I think that's more appropriate. So you have to defend your body. You got to log out in a safe spot, or else you're going to wake up dead. So
right. So I've been playing those two. Been playing a game called Snow Runner. You know what that is?
Oh yeah, I did a video on my YouTube channel of Mud Runner.
Okay,
I think that's what it was called.
Yep, that's the previous version of it, I believe.
Yeah. And it was fun. I mean, I need to go back and play it some more. It was definitely cool. That was that shit is up my alley. It's complex and yeah, man.
Yeah, it's very moddable, which is cool, and very easy to mod. So I like that aspect of it. The maps are pretty good size. It's just, do I really want to sit there for an hour trying to dig my truck out of the mud?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I can do this shit in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think the reason why I play a lot of first-person shooters is because I can't go around shooting people in real life.
Correct.
So,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Is that what you've been playing recently?
I think I've realized that that is really the thing that I'm interested in. The bread and butter is first-person
Yeah.
shooters.
Yeah.
Um,
What's
I,
your like all-time go-to first-person shooter?
well, I would say Escape from Tarkov.
Really? Wow.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think Escape from Tarkov is as soon as they can get a little bit more shit developed and get it to a more final state, I think it's going to be.
Hmm.
I think it's already revolutionary. I mean, they invented their own genre.
Hmm.
You know, like you got first person shooters that are like level based or whatever, or
Correct.
objective based,
Yeah.
or maybe you have they call them battle royales, right? Where the
Yep.
concept is 60 players spawn in on a map, or 100, or pick your number
A
or whatever,
shrinking map.
and then
Yeah.
a shrinking map. Yeah, like some sort of loosely defined, silly,
Hmm.
invisible wall squeezes players together, and they all kill
Correct.
each other until there's only one person left. So there's a lot of different game modes and ideas, genres throughout the years that have rose as cream, rose to the top.
Sure.
And BSG Battlestate Games they invented the raid based looter shooter, which is you gotta prepare your loadout or whatever. You got to
Hmm.
get a program. What are you going to do in the map? Because you can't do everything. And
Okay.
then you go into the map and you try to get to an extraction point to get out.
Mm. Okay.
With the new loot. So it's the gameplay isn't I have to kill everybody on the map and then get to the
Sure.
end and win. It's I'm trying to survive from point A to point B, and then I can cash in after point B is done, and I can prepare for my next point A to point B.
Right. So theoretically, you could do that all without seeing one other person. I mean, if you were to do it stealthy.
Well,
I mean,
yes,
yeah.
right.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so the only other game that I know of right now, which I'm trying out, it just released out of beta, called Cycle Frontier. And the
Okay.
Cycle Frontier is free to play, and it follows the same idea, the same concept. It's you prepare to go into raid, prepare yourself because you can't carry everything
Hmm.
in, so you got to decide what you're gonna bring, and then you drop down on the map, and you have to try to execute objectives and loot, and then you get to point B, which is your extraction point, and you cash in at the back at the home base. You cash in, and you prepare again to go back in.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is cool.
it is really cool. It's
How
it's
how long has Tarkov been out?
it's been in beta, the quote unquote beta test, for 6 years now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty controversial. It's like Star Citizen.
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I know a little bit about that. Yeah.
or Star Citizen has been in development for like 15 years,
Yeah.
and it just will never get out of development. Hell, it'll just always be being iterated on.
That's good and bad in my opinion. It's good that they're continually trying to improve it and making it either more fun or more fair or able to realize, hey, we didn't make a perfect game. We have things that we need to fix, and we're always constantly trying to fix things. And then the other side of that is they're always trying to fix things, so there's always
Yeah,
updates for it.
yeah. Star Citizen is trying to accomplish the most ambitious space flight combat simulator open world universe
Yeah,
thing ever
yeah,
conceived.
yeah. I'm,
And
I'm totally interested in it.
I am too. I mean, I want to buy a copy of it and I want to play it. They're it's only like $44 to buy in at the bottom level, so
Right.
it's not very prohibitive. But interestingly enough, Battlestate Games, their pay model is exactly the same
Huh.
as Star Citizen. So it's like
Right.
$44 to buy in at the bottom level.
Right.
And then
But you can max that out probably by the more money you throw at it.
Yeah, you can. They have a $150 tier buy-in, and you get more equipment to start with, and you get a little bit more stash space to loot shit and stuff.
Right.
And it's the same thing with Star Citizen. You spend more money, you get bigger and cooler ships, and that's what everybody wants. So.
Right. And then it's also Star Citizen, from what I understand, it's not just sitting in an aircraft. You could physically get out of the vehicle and it turns into a first-person shooter.
Yeah. I don't know how polished or how many different ways you can really shoot their space laser guns or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how complex all that stuff is and how repetitive it becomes. But what is the breakout technology that they are showcasing is not voice over IP, VoIP.
Right.
It's face over IP.
Oh, wow.
So they have VoIP.
Huh.
Yeah. So if you have a webcam, it'll track your face, like and it'll put your face's movements on your character model in game.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when you walk up and you speak to somebody with your helmet off, as you speak to them, your character's face will be animated and move and shit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That's man, it's just come so far.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the very early days of VR, what they called VR, and
the Virtual Boy.
Right? Yeah, I never had that.
No, I didn't either.
That was kind of a monochrome version, right? It was kind of a red and white type of.
It was just red and black. I mean, it was
red
like
and black,
it was either a red wireframe or it was nothing.
Yeah. That's back then. It's just like there was too much other cool stuff going on to get wrapped up in something that seemed very unpolished. You know.
Yeah, I can dig that.
Yeah. When you were a kid, I mean, you're a little bit younger than me. What was your first first iteration into like gaming? Like was it going to like the arcade, or was it strictly, oh, I got a Nintendo now?
My parents fucked up real bad, and they had an Atari. I guess it was the Atari 6400 or something like that.
The most popular one was the Atari 2600.
That's it. That's the one. Yep. So they had an Atari, and it was like, you know, real the cheapest, shittiest graphics ever.
For sure.
Yeah. It was all like maybe 15 or maybe 32 different colors, not even just like shades or whatever. But I remember they had maybe 15 games for it, little cartridges.
Okay.
And I would sit there and just play that motherfucker like all day long. Like it was. I mean, I went outside and played too. You know, I did shit like that. But it was like I wanted to play the Atari.
Yeah. Did you remember what games you liked to play on it? We had it too. I was probably maybe 10 or so when we got that. Maybe.
Yeah, I think I was probably 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I remember Breakout.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So or Super Breakout is what it was called.
Yep.
And it was basically just Pong, but you're bouncing a ball to break bricks
off of a wall
on the top of the ceiling.
Yep.
And every time you hit a brick, like each layer made a different tone. So it was
fancy.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. It was like very, very satisfying when it went from doot to deet, doot, deet. And so it was Super Breakout and fuck my ass. What else?
My favorite games were Chopper Command was a good one. River Raid. There was an Indiana Jones game that was really cool.
Oh yeah,
do you remember that?
Pitfall. That's what I'm thinking of.
Pitfall was great. Yeah, Pitfall 2 was even better. I remember playing the infamous E.T. game, but we didn't have it. I think a friend had it.
Yeah,
and it was horrible. I mean, it was as bad as people say it was. I mean, historical, like they just revisionism. It was bad. It was bad.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, there's so many stories out there where they talk about how the company went under and went bankrupt
Yeah,
and shit.
yeah, yeah. It was horrible. Um, see, there were some sports games that were kind of fun for a while until they kind of progressed into you know everything seemed to get better over 6 months to a year, and then it's like, oh man, I can't believe I was playing that horrible game 6 months ago,
Mm,
type of deal.
yeah.
And so yeah, we had the Atari. We had the 2600. I think everybody had the 2600 at some point. Then it went to like the Atari 5200, I think, which had a little bit better graphics, but we didn't have that. I think the next step that we went up was to the first Nintendo.
Yeah, the NES.
Yep, the first Nintendo. And that was great too. I mean, there was just so many, like
Oh,
like you said, just sit at home all day and on a Saturday and just crunch out Mario or just some stupid game.
oh man. Okay, so since I can't remember any other games that were on Atari, what was your favorite games on the NES?
On the NES, my favorites are the ones that I played the most. My favorites probably was like Contra,
Same.
Akari Warriors.
Ikari Warriors, yeah, nobody talks about that. Ikari Warriors
Yeah,
is fucking fantastic. 2-player,
yep,
top down. You gotta,
yep,
infiltrate the base and kill all the enemies.
right.
Yeah.
Commando was a good one. It was very similar to that, but it was single player.
I
Um,
don't remember that one.
there was one called Iron Tank that was almost like an Akari Warriors clone, but instead of
You were a
just being
tank.
a little guy running around, you were a tank. And I think it
Yeah,
was 2 players as well.
I remember that. This was like red and blue.
Yep.
Yeah.
I liked all those. The sports games were great. I mean, it's great for the time,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, sure.
Um, but the ones we played the most was, believe it or not, was just probably Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, Super Mario
Just
Brothers was definitely
just
iconic.
sit and crunch that, man. And we were doing speed runs before speed runs were a thing.
Mm.
It's how fast can you finish the game? That type of deal. And that was years later after you got, I don't know how many hours into it. You knew all the little cheats and tricks and all that kind of stuff.
Shortcuts.
Yeah. Mario 2 was great.
Yeah, it was actually originally called Doki Doki Panic.
Yeah, I think maybe you and I have talked about that before. Yeah.
Yeah, Doki Doki Panic. And they just reskinned it and
Mm-hmm.
made it look a little different, and then called it Super Mario Brothers 2 and released it in the U.S. because it was so successful in the U.S. They just had to pump it, had to capitalize on the the wave of
The Mario craze. Yeah.
yeah. So they took
Yeah.
this other game that was only released in Japan or whatever, and
Yeah.
they just reskinned a few of the sprites or whatever, and they just called it Super Mario 2, based off of the pre-program, the game that released before called Doki Doki Panic, and that's the reason
Yeah.
why that's why it's so fucking different.
It is. It's different from all the other ones. And then the third one was the third one on
It was on
on
NES.
NES or on the Super NES.
No, it was on NES. The third one
Yep.
was.
Yeah, the third one was good too. I never finished it. I finished the first two, but I think I was maybe getting a little bit too old to sit at home all day on a Saturday to
Yeah. You
that.
were probably cooler than I was.
Now I'm just older.
Yeah.
I wasn't any cooler.
Yeah. I would say one of my most favorite games was a game called Clash at Demon Head.
Never heard of it.
Oh, dude, that game was like, for me, it was amazing because I had never seen another game that had done the same sort of stuff that it did. So you know how like in Super Mario 3, you have an overworld map.
Yeah.
So you could choose, like on the grid, you could go one square to the right and you're on.
You had options. Sure.
Yeah, you had options to move around on the overworld map, and then you selected the level, and it would bring you into the gameplay.
Right.
This had the same thing, except in Super Mario, when you clicked on node called number 4, as opposed to node called number 3, which was, in another direction on the overworld map to the left or whatever. In this game, if you were trying to go backwards, like back up. Like you had to, so each one of the nodes, you had to play the level to go to the next node intersections.
Sure.
Okay, so in the overworld map in Mario, you could just, if you passed the level, you've unlocked the passage. And you
Right.
can go back and forth and play any level
Yeah,
you want.
you'd physically have to play through it again, right?
Yeah, but in this game, you had to physically play through it again in Clash of
Wow.
Demon Head. But also, if you were going back to the beginning, to the very first node, you played that level backwards.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so in Super Mario, you always start on the left.
Yeah. Yep.
And you move to the right.
Right.
Well, if you got to if in this game Clash of Demon Head, if you got all the way to the right and you exited the match, the level, and you decided, fuck, I went the wrong direction, and you go backwards, and you went back into that node to go one step backwards, you arrived just where you exited on the right hand side, and now you have to go left. Yep.
Oh man.
And to me, that was so fucking real. That was like, video games can't get any more realistic than this.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Did you play Zelda?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was fun too.
Yeah, Zelda.
Frustrating but fun.
Yeah, it was. Zelda was Legend of Zelda was a huge huge map, and it was like a big puzzle.
Yep.
And that was fantastic.
I never played like the Adventures of Link or any of the ones after that. I only played the very first one.
Yeah, the second one was really good. A lot of people hated it because it was so radically different. But
different, sure, yeah.
But back then, I think when they made games, they didn't like say, "Oh, this was a winning formula. Replicate that."
Mm-hmm.
They created a new thing.
Right.
So anyway, The Adventures of Link, Legend of Zelda 2, was more like an RPG where you earned experience points and then paid for stat upgrades and shit like that.
Yeah.
And some people just didn't like it because it was so radically different than the first one.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I thought it was fucking cool.
Yeah, I remember in Mario 2 there was somewhat of a gambling aspect, like in between boards, like there was like a slot machine where you could like get, like if you got like 3 mushrooms, you got like
an extra life.
Extra life or something like that.
Yeah, I
did Zelda have something like that? I don't really remember.
No, I don't remember if it did. I haven't played it in a long time. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to hook up. Firstly, I'm trying to figure out how to hook up my old original Nintendo to something and play some of the old games on it. But we also got one of those micro NESs that you can buy now that's all HDMI plug-in and shit.
Yeah.
And I would like to record some of that one day, but I haven't hooked it all up yet, so...
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because the old connection was like, it would connect through like the antenna, I think. There was like a 2-prong type of deal that you'd have to physically like screw on to the antenna.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like an adapter thing, and it was...
Right, it wasn't RCA jacks or anything like that. It was something a little bit more odd.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you probably have to use like a newer one unless there's some kind of format to where you can
there's adapters and shit. They got adapters for everything. I
think go to Radio Shack, but Radio Shack doesn't really
no. I think Radio Shack went out of business. They disappeared.
Yeah.
Wow. I ordered probably $50 worth of different attachments and adapters to try to make this shit work, and I still haven't figured out a winning combination yet. Yeah,
probably just best off to use the newer one to it's just kind of like an emulator, right? It's got all the games like pre-programmed into it, right?
It doesn't have all the games because we bought it, and I bought it thinking it had Clash at Demon Head. And I loaded it up and started playing it, and I was trying to find out where it was. It was like, fuck it, don't have it.
Oh man, maybe it was from a game manufacturer that wouldn't license it or something. Who knows?
Yeah, right.
Huh.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I always kind of wondered about those newer... Like I saw one that was like an Atari 2600, but it was just the joystick.
Yeah, and everything's loaded in there.
Yeah, and you could play all the games just from the joystick. I thought that was kind of cool, but I go back and I look at some of those games just like, I don't know how much time I'm really going to spend sitting here playing this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a lot cooler thinking about them. It's a whole lot
Right,
cooler
right.
reminiscing than it is actually
I
going
don't
back
want
and
to
playing
ruin
it.
my memory of a lot of those games, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like after like the first Nintendo, I think I bought a Sega. When Sega came out, that would have been about like 1990-ish.
Sounds
And
about right.
then and there were a ton of cool games for it. You know, it was kind of like the, hey, the Nintendo's passe, man. The Sega's got better graphics and
Yeah.
better games, and we've got all these celebrities who are endorsing it, and all this stuff. And I bought in. I was stupid about stuff like that. I just instantly bought in. I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I gotta have this. So
Yeah.
there were some cool games for it. Got really into like the sports games were cool because they were finally starting to incorporate like some real players and stuff in the games.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a first, to where before it was just kind of generic, kind of blue team versus red team type of stuff.
Hmm.
So they actually had the licensing, and that made it a lot more fun. Um, and I was just getting into college probably. Yeah, when Sega kind of blew up, and then I bought the Sega CD, Sega 32 effects.
Mm.
So there were a ton of like add-on stuff for it that that made it a lot of fun. And then I never had the Super Nintendo,
You
the Super
didn't?
NES. No, I had a roommate who had it. So I didn't really need to buy it because he had it. So um, there were a ton of cool games for it. I like the Mario games for that. That was fun.
Yeah. Super Mario World.
Oh yeah,
I can remember
yeah.
the first time I played that. I don't know who the guy was, but it was a guy that my dad worked with. I want to say his name was Steve, but I could be wrong. He had a big, bushy black mustache, and I must have been probably 9 years old,
Hmm.
maybe younger. I think probably, but right about 9. And we he went over there, and my dad was helping him work on something like it was something I could never do. It was like building a fucking room addition or
Oh wow,
re-roofing the guy's house with him
yeah.
or something, some shit like that. And I was over there just with hanging out with his this other guy's kids, and they had a
Hmm.
Super Nintendo, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And then
Yeah,
she showed me the Super Mario World, and that shit just blew my mind. It was like you're
yeah. It
riding a
was a
dinosaur, and
step up. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it was the most amazing shit in the world. And
yeah.
I begged my parents to buy the Super Nintendo after that, and I got it shortly thereafter. They were nice
Hmm.
enough that,
Right.
yeah,
And it competed against the Sega for a while, but I think it wasn't until probably like what was the Nintendo after the Super Nintendo? That would have been
64.
the Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
That's when they pretty much killed Sega with that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they did, didn't they?
Yeah, Sega didn't last much longer after that. I think I had a Dreamcast in between those two too, and it was really good. I liked it a lot. There were a ton of cool games for it, but it kind of died on the vine after a couple years. It just didn't have any a whole lot of development after a couple years.
Yeah, yeah. It makes me wonder what went wrong, or maybe the technology was moving so much faster. I
I
mean,
think you're right. Yeah.
Sony's PlayStation came out soon after that,
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
and so CD-based games were like the new big thing as
Oh
opposed to
yeah.
cartridge-based. So
Right.
even though Nintendo, like, for whatever reason, held on to the cartridge-based game
Hmm.
shit for a while.
Right. And it's crazy because you think about like just, and I guess maybe they don't care, but just the manufacturing costs of a CD versus a cartridge, it's got to be like a cartridge has got to cost 4 times the amount of money to make than a stupid little CD does.
I don't know, man. In my kid's mind, a CD was more expensive because if you held it up to the light just right, there was a rainbow inside of it.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I didn't
True.
understand how any of that shit could work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I think we understand now that it's just a very thin film of some sort of metal that
Right.
is etched and burned with a laser, just like a plastic record is made, a vinyl record is made.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. I remember the first Sony Walk or Sony Discman I had. That would have been in high school, probably. So like probably 88, 87 or 88 maybe. And man, it was awesome. I mean, you could play a CD, from your backpack. It was like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it, the battery life was horrible on the thing. I mean, towards the end, I don't think you could even get through a whole CD without the batteries dying on it.
Yeah.
And it had like a, oh, they had their own battery. I forget what the term is, but it's, you couldn't just put double A's or triple A's or something in it. You had to use their battery. Proprietary battery, correct.
Mm.
And you had to charge the damn thing, and it was just like, oh, this sucks.
Fuck.
But yeah, CDs were awesome for a while, man. I spent a ton of money on CDs back in the day.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't feel so bad about when Napster came around, and I'm like, well, okay, it's time to get even.
Yeah. You felt like you paid your dues.
Oh, dude, I definitely paid my dues. Yeah.
I spent a lot of money as a young person. I mean, I still buy CDs from Amazon and stuff because it's a physical. It's at least I have it on CD. So long as I take care of it and I don't get it all scratched up.
Right.
Because I could lose access to my account with my digital stuff.
Sure.
Or my hard drive that has it all ripped to it could fail and I'll never get it back. It's just, it feels like all that money to acquire all that media is just it's so fragile.
Do you remember going to the record store as a kid?
Yeah, man. I didn't really have a local record store. I mean, we might have had a couple of small places that did movies and music and shit like that. But yeah, I mean, I would go there with whatever, if my parents would give me some money or something, and I would peruse through the alphabet and see if I could, and this, like, I've never heard of these people. Their cover looks cool. Maybe I'll try
it
them.
looks scary or something. Yeah. I used to love to go to the record store. It was cool. We had a couple that we go to, mostly at malls.
Yeah.
But there were some standalone ones. The Warehouse, I think, was the name of one of them back in the day. That was kind of a standalone, and they were maybe in the malls too. But it was a place to buy CDs and tapes and records and stuff. And but again, most of the other ones were at the mall, and you could spend hours there just filing through music.
Yeah.
Those were the days. And then the mall, also had the arcade. Did you spend any time in arcades as a kid?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We didn't have all the money in the world to be spending at the arcade, but I had some great memories of plugging quarters in machines and getting a little bit of entertainment out of it for the short amount of time that your quarter, allowed you to.
I remember being a real little kid. I mean maybe like 4 or 5. And there was a restaurant that we always, in the little town that I grew up in, there's a restaurant we went to. It's kind of a cowboy shit kicker place.
Yeah.
And kind of a tourist trap maybe in the wintertime. But it had really, really good food. And it saddens me to this day that it's been taken over by somebody else, and the food is, from what I understand, not good anymore, and it's just sad. But
no.
As you walked in the place, it was sawdust on the floor, and it was kind of like looked like kind of like a honky tonk place that you'd see like in the 70s, with the jukebox in the corner, and just nostalgic, at least for me.
Yeah.
And in the corner, as you walked in, always to the left, there was some kind of video game. And I think when we first started going there, it was Pong. And then eventually it became Donkey Kong. This is all the bar top, 2-player bar top, tabletop, just kind of sat on the floor.
Yeah.
And 2 people could sit across from each other and play it.
Oh, okay.
And it started off with Pong, and then they got Donkey Kong, and then they got Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. And they never had more than one. It was always replaced. So maybe 6 months earlier that we were there, it was something different. So that was always fun to just throw a couple quarters in, before we ate or whatever, throw a couple quarters in your pocket and, try out these new games. And that was fun. But we did the arcades as well. Never really went to like the Chuck E. Cheese's. I won't say that I never did, but it was rare that we
Yeah.
whenever went to those places.
Same here.
But the arcade at the mall, man, oh man, that was awesome. That was
Yeah.
absolutely awesome.
Yeah, the mall that I went to most common, the arcade was called The Tilt.
The Tilt, okay.
Yeah. And it was like, man, it was what a cool name, you know?
Yeah.
People, it would be like, we're going to get something at the food court, you know, we're going to eat some
Mhm.
Sabaro's pizza,
Yeah.
and then go to The Tilt, man.
Yeah, that's cool. We had a big arcade place in Phoenix. I believe it's still there, and it was like in the shape of a castle, and it was called. Back in the day, it was called Golf and Stuff. And I think it might be called Castles and Coasters now because they have roller coasters and stuff there now too. But it was a mini golf place that had a big arcade, massive. At least from my memory as a kid, it was a massive arcade inside with probably 150, 200 games and pinball machines and all that kind of stuff. And it was just open up the door and it would be like for a gambling addict to walk into a casino. That's what it would be like. It was just crazy. And didn't go there all that often, but often enough to know that fuck, I want to go there more. You know?
Yeah, man. If you want to go to a contemporary arcade now, go to Quail Springs 24 in North Oklahoma City.
Okay.
If you happen to go back, there's a big. They call it Quail Springs 24 because there's an AMC theater there with 24 screens.
Yeah.
And they've got a new arcade there that is fucking huge.
Really?
It's fucking huge, man.
Cool.
It's one floor, so there's like, I think there's like two main floors in the whole thing, and then there's like a subfloor, like the food court and the movie theaters on the lowest level. Mm-hmm. So it'd be like the basement. But there's like the middle level, so floor one or whatever, like one whole wing of the mall on one side. So like 1/4 of the mall on the first level is an arcade.
Wow.
It's like fucking huge.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's like, they got bowling and pool in the back, and they've got all sorts of shit. I mean, they got claw machines, you know, like
sure, oh yeah,
you know, put $1 in, and then you maybe do claw. They've got like 300 of
really
them. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I gotta go there. That sounds cool.
It's like they went on and on and on. It was like when we went. Me and my wife, we went, and I was walking through these fucking claw machines. They were like, all of them's like straight out of Japan.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I've all got Japanese writing on them and shit. And it's like, you don't know what the fuck any of this stuff is. They're like little stuffed animals that look like, I don't even know what cartoon they're from or nothing.
Right.
Anyway, and it's like walking through a hall of mirrors. Because you don't know which way is fucking north anymore.
Yeah,
and it's like you're in a maze of these
overwhelming. Yeah.
And it just went on and on. It was wild.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Those places are becoming few and far between. The legit ones. Like I've done like the Dave and Buster's and stuff like that. And that just I don't know. It just seemed too, I don't know. Didn't seem authentic enough to me, you know?
I've never been to Dave and Buster's.
Yeah, it's an arcade where you can get food and
beer.
I think you can bowl there maybe and some other stuff, but it's more, I don't know. The idea is good, but it's just, for me, it wasn't the same as going to a sleazy arcade, you know?
Yeah, sleazy, greasy, grimy arcade.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my all-time favorite game to play in an arcade was a how far can you go sort of game.
Okay.
Called Die Hard.
Did
you ever play that?
From the movie Die Hard?
It feels like that's what it should have been, but the game did not play like that.
Okay.
It was like it was like Double Dragon.
Oh sure, yeah, I remember that.
Except there was quick time events between each major section of the game. So like let me think here.
I'll have to Google it.
Yeah, it was called Die Hard, and I don't think they ever made a console port. It was only an arcade game.
Yeah.
And it could have been loosely based off of the franchise Die Hard, but by the time they squirted out the end of their production process, it was just something entirely different.
Interesting.
And so you could play 2-player co-op.
Yeah.
And you like it was like Double Dragon, you're like in a building and you got to fight the bad guys, and maybe some of the bad guys would arrive on an elevator and one of them's got like a spiked baseball bat and another one's got a pistol or something like that. And you'd beat
Right.
the shit out of them and take the weapon from them and whoop the fuck out of their biker buddies, and then maybe you clear the room, and the very next section is you and your co-op buddy, running down a hallway, and a bad guy pops out of a door, and you got to hit A really quick to punch him in the face. And if you didn't, then they tripped you and you lost some health.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it was just like, it was kind of like Time Crisis, how, Time Crisis goes on for fucking 14 stages or some shit. And it was like every stage gets harder and basically just sucks more and more of your money away.
Right.
But this game, there was just something about it that had a charm that just drew me in, and I just wanted to play it over and over again.
Yeah, I didn't have any that I was just like, oh, I got to go find this game. They have to have this here.
Yeah.
I was just more overwhelmed just by everything. And I liked the Spy Hunters. I liked.
Yeah.
And,
I never, tell me about Spy Hunter, because I played Spy Hunter and I never understood what the fuck to do.
Okay, Spy Hunter is a top-down racing game with this, not racing game, but just a scroller with a steering wheel. And I think that you on your right hand also had a high and a low shifter.
Yeah.
So you start out, fall out of the back of a truck in your car.
Yeah.
And you start taking off, and then guys start chasing you with other cars, and you've got guns, and you've got like it's like a James Bond type of theme.
Yeah. Smoke screen.
And smoke screens and oil slicks and all that kind of stuff. And dude, I was never good at it, but I love the game. I mean, I don't know that I ever finished a level on it.
That's what I'm saying is I played it and I got so good at it. It's like eventually you would get on a boat and then you would be on a boat.
Oh, I never even knew that. I never ever got that far on it.
Yeah, and then when you got far enough on the boat, then you went back to a car, and it was like,
wow.
And then I was like, what are we doing here? Like,
yeah,
I never understood. I think I missed something.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one, and anything with like a steering wheel was fun. I thought
Cruising USA.
Cruising USA was cool, very cool. Ivan Stewart's Off Road was like I think there were 4 steering wheels on the cabinet,
okay,
and it was kind of like a maze. It was like Sprint. There's another game called Sprint that was like that too, and it was kind of like not a figure 8, but just kind of a track, and you just run your truck or your car or whatever through the little track. That one was fun. Remember RC Pro-Am for Nintendo?
No, I don't think so.
It was very similar to that same top down type of game. It was fun to tell. So yeah, like anything with the steering wheel or anything with like a flight stick, man, I was in. The Star Wars arcade was cool. Think about this. Oh man, 1941 and 1943, I think. That's a top-down shooter with a airplane, with a P-38. And you just have waves of aircraft coming at you.
And you're like scrolling over like the jungle or something?
Yep.
Yeah. So that played a lot like a lot of other games. So there was side-scroller games that almost did the same thing. It was called like Gradius.
Dude, I remember Gradius on Nintendo. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So but it was instead of horizontal, it was vertical.
Yeah, and you pick up power boosts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked all those games, man. There weren't many that I didn't like. There's some that were just like so frustrating. It's just like you play it once and go, okay, yeah, this is not for me.
Yeah.
I can't think of an example of that, but I'm sure there's plenty of them.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a game, I think it was called like Real Driving or Race Driving or something like that. And you actually sat down in it, and it had a steering wheel, and it had a gas pedal, and it had a brake, but it actually had a clutch and a shifter that worked like a real car. And I thought that was fun as hell. The graphics were absolutely horrible. Going back looking at it now.
Damn it.
The graphics were just miserable on it. But the concept of being able to like work a clutch and it operate kind of like a real car did was very, very cool.
Yeah, I like that idea quite a bit. I just can't afford it.
Right.
in my home
Right.
setup.
Right. Right. So yeah, dude, it's been a while since I've been to like a real arcade. You know, if I'm at a place and they've got like a tabletop Pac-Man or something like that, oh, I'm in. I'm gonna play at least a couple quarters in it. You know.
Yeah.
Um, but I think after I don't remember if it was. I think I had the PlayStation. Did the PlayStation 1 come out before or after? Um, the Sega Dreamcast. I guess that would have been before.
Oh, I don't actually. It gets kind of muddy for me right there.
Yeah. So in between the Sega and the um, Dreamcast, I had the original PlayStation. It was cool. Ton of great games for it, but kind of buggy. Like I remember always having a lot of problems with it loading, and maybe it just burnt the thing up. It ran so much. But PS and had a PS2 after the Dreamcast, and then PS3 and PS4,
hmm
and I've had computers, in between then that I played um, just a bunch of random games on. Had an old Macintosh when I was in grade school and high school, and there were some pretty very primitive games for those that were kind of fun. Like the first iteration of like SimCity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, those were fun as hell. Um, but yeah, I haven't stopped like trying to find that perfect game.
Yeah, there's a bunch of choices out now. It's just
Oh geez, yeah, it's
it's
just overwhelming now.
it is kind of overwhelming. It's too bad that the only ones making really innovative and interesting games are like the indie devs, like the really small
Hmm.
groups, because I think even though AAA games that are coming out now have a lot of money put into them and they have
Sure.
a lot of production value or whatever,
Yeah.
and a lot of polish, and they look really nice, and maybe they work really good, and they're really compatible with a bunch of different shit, so there's not a lot of hangups or whatever.
Hmm.
But it's just like there's so many people in charge, and there's so many people. You can tell that a lot of the concepts get watered down, and they don't take as many risks as
Yeah.
far as the story goes and shit, because they try to make it just like Hollywood does now with movies.
Oh
They try
yeah.
to make it more accessible to more people
Right.
without possibly pushing the wrong button to keep people from buying in. They want to break in as many bucks as possible. And then everybody in charge has to have their own little input. Well, let's change this here,
Hmm.
and then before you know it,
Right.
they go from having a piece of art that's like really interesting and well
Right.
crafted to this almost a watered down black and white version of itself because of
Right.
too many cooks in the kitchen.
Right, and then a lot of them now are trying to be politically correct, and I'm not about that. I mean, if I don't want
Yeah.
anybody's feelings hurt ever, but
Yeah.
guess what? There were never black Nazis. There were never um so some of these examples of what like EA Sport or EA has done with the Battlefield series, it's just ridiculous. And I have no interest in revisionist history. If I want to
Yeah.
play a game about World War II, I want it to be like World War II was. You know,
Sure.
I don't. And I read a deal. I think one of the developers or one of the head honchos at EA. He's he was being interviewed by somebody, and I guess his comment was, "Well, my daughter came to me and said, well, how come there aren't any girls in this game?" It's just like, well, it was World War. I mean, and he needed to unfortunately sit her down and say, "Hey, it was a different time. Women were not on the front lines in battle, and just basically spell it out like a good parent should."
Yeah.
But
Like,
but instead, he's like, you know what? I took heed to that. You know what? We're gonna have more of a woke game going forward. And it's just like, guess what? Guess what? I'm not buying.
yeah. Yeah. I'm not spending my money on that. Yeah. It's not
No,
compelling.
no, and it's horrible because I mean, for the most part, like the Battlefield series was one of my more favorite of the finger quote current first person shooters, and it's unplayable as far as I'm concerned now. You know,
Yeah, I hear you.
I think I still play Battlefield 4 on the PS4, and the servers are still full. Believe it or not, I mean it's crazy. People still playing it.
Yeah. When did Battlefield 4 come out?
Oh man, I think 2014 maybe. It's been a while.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of YouTubers talk about Battlefield 4, and that there's still a lot of, I think, modding support on PC.
Yeah, it was very popular. It was very buggy when it first came out, and that turned off a lot of people, I think. But I don't know. I was playing Battlefield 3 before that, Battlefield Bad Company, and Battlefield 2, and I loved all those games. And 4 was very very similar to those other ones, and they reincorporate maps that they used previously, so you kind of already knew where to go, but they were just prettier and more intricate, and you could knock down whole buildings and stuff. I mean, it was very very cool, and I like those over like the Call of Duty ones because the maps were bigger, and you could actually get in an aircraft and fly around, or a tank, and you weren't just bound to this little tiny map where you're just going to be bumping shoulders with everybody.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
There's a place for that too. I mean, and Battlefield had their I forget what they called them, but they were the smaller maps where you could do just that if you wanted to. But there's always something for me about just not always having to look over my shoulder and get shot in the back.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think Arma they just released their in development, but you can play it right now if you want to, game called Arma Reforger.
Ooh, cool.
Have you heard of that one?
I've heard of Arma, and I've been interested in. It's on my list of
Things to check out.
things to check out. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've watched a bunch of videos on it, and on the original Arma 3 maybe, or Arma 2.
Arma
Whatever.
3.
Yeah, whatever the last one was.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it looks cool as hell. It looks great.
Yeah, it does look really good.
And I think that's from Bohemia Interactive. I think is
You're correct. How do you know
who
all this
developed that.
stuff? Oh my gosh!
Because I used to play a game called Operation Flashpoint that was Bohemia Interactive, and dude, it was awesome. It was like playing Army Man. You could like set up all these different battles. I mean, however you wanted to, and it was kind of like a simulator where you'd have side A versus side B. This side's got 6 tanks. This side's got 5 tanks. This side's got a helicopter. This side's got X. This side's got Y. And then you'd hit start, and you could either sit there and watch them fight it out, or you could watch them fight it out and be in the middle of it too.
Yeah, and be a part of it.
Yeah, it was cool as hell. I mean, the graphics, going back again, the graphics were kind of horrible compared to today's standard, but the overall concept of it was just amazing. And spent just hours just setting up cool bases and all that kind of stuff with it. And so that's what when I saw that there was going to be a new version of Arma coming out, I'm like, I might have to look into that.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing too. I'm thinking pretty seriously about looking into it, but of course, I still got Star Citizen to pay attention to, and I still got Escape from Tarkov, and there's a few.
So you're in on Star Citizen? You've already been playing it?
No, but I follow. I keep up on the news. Yeah, I want to buy into it. I just haven't bought into it yet.
Well, when you do, let me know, because I'd probably jump into that a little bit, probably.
Yeah, it's on my list of things to pay attention to. I'm interested in Arma 4. So they got Arma Reforger right now is supposed to be like. It's supposed to be the newest content that they decided to release, as well as a new level of customizability for the player base, because it has a lot of mod support.
Cool.
So basically, it's like it's given the player base a new set of tools to make big battles with and scenarios and shit.
Nice.
And they wanted to do that and try to rake in a little bit more money for them to start focusing on their next major title release.
Sure. Yeah, they'll do that. I've seen that in the past, where it's still a good game, but it's just not 100% effort. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I think that's
And
what a lot of people said this Reforger is, but a lot of those people came back and was like, "Yeah, but we ended up playing it, and fuck, is it cool?"
that's a compliment,
Yeah.
that they can pull that off and kind of half-ass it and still make something better than what everybody else is making.
Oh man. Yeah, you're telling me.
So yeah, there's a lot. Um, I go on YouTube every now and then, and I really like open world games and just your sandbox type of stuff. And I always look for what's coming up in the next couple years as far as that genre goes, and it's all still kind of the same post-apocalyptic zombie stuff, and
There is a
and
lot
uh,
of that.
and I don't dislike it, but it gets old, and I don't know what I would like to replace that with, but like maybe just like a true like survival type of game. Um, but I haven't found anything that's just like, oh, I got to go get this.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's so that kind of like spawns the question is why do you think that that seems to be the go-to combination of descriptions slapped together for a lot of these video games? Post-apocalyptic, zombie, survival, shooter.
Probably the easiest answer for that is that it's worked in the past and people are used to it. People kind of have expectations of what that should be and what that should look like. Um, the more deeper answer is that maybe that's in everybody's psyche.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of worried about what the world is going through and what would happen if shit really hits the fan, and
and
what would I do, and how would I address it?
yeah.
But
Yeah,
but
so that's very interesting. It's a very interesting. It's awfully intelligent of you to think about because I think a lot of people. I think, especially in America, we have grown very complacent with our way of life,
for
and
sure,
maybe on a subconscious level,
yeah,
we're entertaining the idea that if the infrastructure falls apart, if the commerce or the world trade that keeps all the goods coming in and stuff fails, you're not gonna have the honey and the blueberries, and you're not
right,
gonna have the fresh turkey or
right, right,
whatever.
or
So like
or
all this,
Pacific salmon in
yeah,
Oklahoma.
yeah, or maybe I mean, what happens when you have to start making your own toilet paper because you
Right.
can't? Because I mean, there was that toilet paper thing when the COVID,
Oh yeah, it's just
you know,
crazy. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's goofy. It's a silly thing, but I mean, what happens when you also can't get medicine?
right.
What if zombies do appear and then everybody like gets eaten and you're just one of very few that survive out of every hundred people, and
Yeah,
then so maybe it's not zombies, but maybe it's a virus, or maybe it's a meteor, or maybe it's fucking nuclear winter or whatever the fuck,
yeah.
one nation blasts the other nation off the planet and everybody else is like fucked up from it. I think a lot of us identify with that fear that this safety culture that we live in that's perpetually becoming, oh, it's more dangerous out there, so you have to give up more of your freedoms to become
Right,
more safe all the
right,
time, which
right,
handicaps the people even further from being able to take care of
right.
themselves.
Yep, you're right.
What happens when all of the safety nets fall apart and break down? There's
Yeah,
no social security. There's no neighbor there to look out for you to help you out. You're on your own. You don't know shit. You can't fucking farm. You don't know how to hunt.
right.
I think
Maybe you live in an environment that without that infrastructure you can't live in.
you can't live in, and maybe now you got to pack up and
You got to
leave.
pack up and go. Right,
Yeah, so it's.
right,
I think maybe a lot of people don't voice these things out loud, but I think our subconscious is knocking on the door
right.
of the conscious frontal lobe thought or whatever it's called, and says, "Hey, these are things that you need to start considering being a reality." And I think it comes out in our art.
I think so too. I think so too, and also think that we're not far removed from a generation that had to go through the Great Depression, which is probably about as close to an apocalyptic scenario as America's ever been through. Where there weren't jobs and you didn't know where your next meal was coming from, and you had to do what you had to do to survive. And we're
Yeah,
not that far removed from that. That was the 1930s. we're
Yeah.
2-3 generations, past that. But that to me, that's that's. I mean, I watched how my grandpa lived and how frugal he was with things and collecting wire and collecting rubber bands, and it's just like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And he'd explain it to me. It's just like, well, you never knew when you were going to get another one, so you might as well hang on to it. We live in a very disposable society now.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that a lot of the reason why we do see lots of zombie stuff is it's an easy kind of nice way to maybe look at the general public who would be ill prepared for something like that to happen.
Okay, so you mean to say what you're saying is the zombie um, population, the population of people that die and become zombies, it's kind of like a statement. These are all the people who failed because they were not equipped.
I wouldn't say, well, I guess failed
because they got bitten and infected and then they died and
yeah,
turned.
Right. Yeah. But just didn't have the foresight to say that, hey, this can't go on forever, and hey, maybe I ought to have like a plan B, know,
yeah,
that type of thing. And people just don't. I know that there's whole swatches of society that the conversation that we're having now would just sound, oh, so ridiculous. What are these guys talking about? Life's just going to go on forever, and the paycheck's always going to show up in the mailbox, and it's just like, well,
maybe it will.
Maybe it will, and then for their sake, I hope it does, because if it doesn't, they're fucked.
Yeah.
They're fucked.
Yeah.
And I'd love to help as many people as I can, but guess what?
You're not going to be able to
help everybody.
Yeah, man, and it's something that's addressed in a lot of zombie movies and maybe some zombie video games too. Is the people who are like the executives, the business people, the office people,
right?
Like their knowledge, their skill set no longer is effective in this world.
It becomes worthless. Right.
It becomes completely worthless.
Yep.
Being able to work the computer for the most part, except for a couple of small instances where the plot is like, we need somebody to get the computer to hack the door open or some shit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, those people are the ones that are disposable, and the people that are super fucking valuable is the shit kicker podunk guy that lives on the outskirts of town.
Your Daryl's from The Walking Dead, that type of guy, which I haven't watched in, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. I got about 4 seasons maybe into The Walking Dead, and by the fourth season, they were still doing about the same shit that they were in the first season. I'm like, man, I don't see myself watching this anymore.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm wearing a Walking Dead T-shirt right now.
Are you really?
Yeah, I am.
I liked it. I thought it was a very well done and well written and cool cliffhangers and all that kind of stuff. But
you don't need to say that because I just said I'm wearing this shirt, man. Their inspiration for the show went down the fucking shitter. I would say probably about season 4, season 5, and then it just got worse.
I think I got to where Negan clipped the big redheaded dude and the Asian guy in the head with the baseball bat. I think I got to do that season, and then I never watched it again after that.
Yeah, my interest started to wane. I think I got 1 season beyond that, me and the wife, and then we just fucking gave up and was like, fuck it. I made a video where I made the barbed wire baseball bat, and I was like, it was a how-to video. Still
really?
On YouTube. Yeah.
Really? How many views did that get?
Like fucking, maybe 200 or something.
Oh, really?
Just no one gave a fuck about it. And that's a-okay, but the interesting part is I made that video in a hurry. Like I was spazzing out trying to get the video done because it was before the season premiere where it was revealed who Negan killed. Like who it was that he bashed in the head or whatever. And it was like, there was like everybody was just sitting arguing for like 3 months over who did what.
Who it was going to be,
Yeah. And then I made a prediction, like I thought really hard about it, and I ended up playing it out in the video where I had 2 cantaloupes, and I said, man, it's either going to come down. Yeah, so I was like, I was in the video, I was making the video because I'm like, hey, I could be wrong, but this is my opinion. I think that what he's going to do is he's going to bash the red-haired guy in the head. And I forget his name now.
I do too. I remember Glenn was the Asian guy, right?
Yeah, Glenn was the Asian guy. And I remember explaining in the video, I was like, he's going to bash the red-haired guy's head in because it just seems like that makes
Abraham. I remember he had a Biblical name, yeah. Abraham was his name.
And
yeah.
so it bashes him in the head. And then I said, just when the audience is reeling from this horrible, gory moment, Negan's going to surprise everybody and turn to Glenn and bash his brains out. And I had printed off pictures of their face and taped them to the cantaloupes.
Oh, man.
And so then when I started bashing the Glenn's head in, and I was like, and that's the way it's going to, this way I think it's going to happen. And then it happened that way. And I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, well, they kind of brought Glenn back from the dead too, didn't they? Remember, he was like he was like trapped underneath like a dumpster or some shit. And,
they did that twice, and it was stupid. Yeah. I mean, I think he almost died twice, and they made us think that he was dead like twice. I mean, I could be exaggerating because I was so pissed off about it, but.
And then there's like another spinoff, like Fear of the Walking Dead, and then there's I think another one coming out now too.
I think there is. I just don't give a fuck.
No, me neither, dude. I don't have any interest in that.
I just can't be bothered to give a fuck anymore.
Right.
I have read so many zombie fiction books.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so many. There's an author by the name of J.L. Bourne that has done a 4-part set where he's an ex-military guy, and the zombie apocalypse happens, and it's like these are his diaries as he's gone on his adventures. And J.L. Bourne, all those books are fucking phenomenal.
Okay.
There's a
write this down as you're saying.
Oh geez. Yeah, I mean, if you're interested, super great zombie fiction. Very well put together, smart author, knows what the fuck he's doing. Wonderful stories. The people doing The Walking Dead now absolutely are eating shit compared to this guy.
Phoning it in, yeah.
They're fucking, they don't know what they're thinking.
Right.
There's a whole plethora of zombie survival books on a publishing company called Permuted Press.
Yeah.
And I would say about 90% of all those things are totally not worth the time because I've read a fuckload of them. Yeah, 90% of them suck ass. But I read them anyways.
Well, it's good knowledge to have, you know.
Yeah. But the J.L. Bourne guy, he was definitely the standout.
Huh. And none of his stuff has been turned into cinematic stuff? Or
no, not that I know of.
Yeah. Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah. The Walking Dead comic books are really fucking good, though.
That's what I heard. Somebody told me that. Yeah.
Yeah, they are like
I've never been a big comic book guy. I just, for whatever reason, that kind of escaped me in my youth. And not that I didn't buy them as a kid, but I never got into into collecting comic books or reading comic books for that matter.
Or graphic novels.
No, it was more like, hey, we're on a trip somewhere. I'm going to need something to read. I'll grab this, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
There's never any series that I followed or anything like that. And I like them. I think they're kind of fun to read. But again, I think I would have back then would have rather read a book or.
Yeah. Or, I like it all, man. I like it all. There's a lot of graphic novels that are totally worth the time. Like,
yeah.
So they like V for Vendetta is one that they made into a movie, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And the movie's pretty good. I mean, a lot of people really like the movie.
Yeah.
But the graphic novel of it is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know lots of friends and actually my younger brothers collected comics for a little bit too. And it gets into the, well, how much of this shit do you really need? You know?
Maybe.
And yeah, I know a lot of them have value and you know, the one of the first evers and all that kind of stuff. That's all good and cool. It's just, I don't know. I was just never into collecting. I collected baseball cards, I guess, instead of comics. So.
Yeah, I can respect that. That's totally cool. But for me, the graphic novel is just like a book, except it's also got pictures. You know.
Yeah. Right.
So
right.
like the whole of V for Vendetta, you could buy that graphic novel, which is the complete set, all in one bound edition or whatever, for like, you know, $18.
Oh wow.
Or maybe $15 or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do the same thing with The Watchmen, or Sin
Is that
City.
when they turned into the Watchmen video game?
Or the Watchmen. Well, never played the Watchmen video game, but that's based off the movie, right? And the movie's based off of the graphic novel.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, The Crow. The Crow graphic novel is
Hmm.
really fucking cool.
Okay, cool.
Because,
Yeah.
they adapted it to the movie with Brandon Lee.
Right. Yeah. I remember that. I think I saw that movie. I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah, that movie is like, well, it's like right up there with Fight Club. It's one of those movies you got to watch all the fucking time as a man.
Yeah. Yeah. Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
Roadhouse.
Oh
I
shit.
ain't got $20.
Yeah, those movies are dated, but they're
Yeah,
fun. They're fun as
man,
hell.
that's almost the only scene from that movie. I need to watch that movie again, but I remember as a young person, I was like, God damn, those titties look wonderful.
Hmm. Yeah, that was always a bonus being a kid and getting to watch an R-rated movie and just a glimpse of titties was always fun.
Yeah, that was definitely special.
Yeah,
I think today's technology has completely ruined how special that is.
yeah, yeah. We were. I was kind of desensitized at a very young age. We had the big satellite dish in the backyard, and in the mid '80s, man, early '80s, mid '80s, you got everything. You got every channel that was flying around on the satellites, and it wasn't free. I mean, you had to buy the dish and the receiver, and it was a constant battle to keep it updated and keep it working. But man, we got lots of like really like adult themed channels.
Mm.
So the
By
parents that go
accident.
out to dinner or go out of town or something, it's just like, man, it's on. It's like we're gonna watch 70s porn for like the next 6 hours.
Yikes.
Uh, yeah, dude, it was so yeah, literally desensitized at a very, very young age. And some of it sticks in my mind and other things that I think about, it's like, okay, I probably should not have been watching that at that age.
I agree. I agree.
Started scrambling it. It became a challenge to try and get the channels that you watch. We watched it a lot for sports, because we'd get feeds from all over the world, really. And a lot of times, one cool thing was that some of the feeds didn't have announcers, so you would just literally get the video feed from the game, and you would have to listen to these two jagoffs fucking talking and making up their stories as they go and trying to keep it entertaining. It's just like you just got to watch the game. So
Yeah.
that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then satellite changed in the '90s to where it became almost like a monthly deal to try and keep it working. And then I think they just went to cable or something after that. I forget what happened at that point.
Right.
But yeah, it was fun, man. Fucking the '80s satellite was whew. Yeah, they had one channel, I think it was called American Triple Ecstasy, and they eventually had to take it off the air because it was like, I think they were getting into legal problems with it with some of the shit that they were showing.
Legal problems? Like
Yeah,
how?
like yeah, just too hardcore,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So
the afros were too big.
it would have been kind of like dark web type of stuff today.
Oh yeah. I don't even know what a dark web is. I've heard about it. I don't know how to get
Yeah.
there. Do you gotta
I
you,
yeah.
you gotta type like everything instead of .com. You type in .dwb or something.
I don't know. I have no idea. Um, it's just yeah. It got pretty ridiculous. So but yeah, it was cool. Those were the good old days, man. Another crazy story is we had the satellite dish. It was a big dish, man. It was like, I don't know, probably 14 feet in diameter.
Yeah, I remember those.
And it was metal and it was heavy and it was kind of down. Our house kind of set up kind of like on a small hill. And you had to run down the back hill to where the satellite was. And it was maybe 50 yards from where the house was. 25 yards from where the house was.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a hand crank on it. And it had this tube, this aluminum tube with a bunch of lines written on this tube, and as you'd crank it, that tube would move into like a piston type of deal. And as it got to the line, it meant that you were close to that satellite.
Yeah.
So one person would have to be down there cranking it, and the other person would be up at the house. And then once the signal got good, you'd yell down, "Okay, the signal's good," and then you'd have to come back up. Now it's all remote control now.
Yeah, technology has come so
Yeah,
far.
yeah, it was basically manual. It was crazy, but and it was funny because all like the kind of like the adult stuff was kind of on one end of the satellite spectrum, and all like your kind of normal MTVs and HBOs and all that other kind of stuff were on the other end of the spectrum. So you have to crank it quite a ways, and it was always a rush to get it back to where so they didn't know that you were way over there.
Oh wow, okay.
So yeah, it was interesting. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember my first experience with
Mhm.
porno as a young kid was there was a neighbor kid. I don't want to say anybody's name, but there was a neighbor kid next to my best friend when I was in middle school, high school, and he apparently had stolen a whole bunch from his dad, I think. And
Tapes or like magazines?
It was magazines.
Okay.
And I remember he had a red wagon that had like some that like he kept out in the barn, and it had some toys or something with it. And he just we came over there, and I don't know what he did before or what or after, but
yeah,
he took this whole red wagon, and we just walked to the woods outside of the house, because I'm living in a rural area, and it was just like, I want to say it was probably 16 magazines.
Oh wow!
I don't remember if they were Penthouse or whatever, but it was just and he was basically just like a curator. Oh yeah, this one's good. Flip a few more pages. Hey, you guys over there, pick up this one instead. That one's no good.
Wow.
And yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to learn it somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, you got to see it.
I think we had sex ed in like 6th grade. I think is when like the school officially like was willing to like
talk about it,
classrooms down and do that shit. But dude, by that time I could have fucking taught the class.
6th grade.
I've seen so much shit on these channels, man. It's just like, oh yeah. I think I can miss this session of class.
That's funny. I think our sex ed where I went to school, I think it came much later in our school careers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more like just talking about disease and shit.
Yeah, for sure. They did that. Yeah, for sure. They did all that stuff too. Yeah. But yeah, it was interesting. So the satellite was cool because there was just kind of like some worldly stuff that just like would catch your eye. You just like be flipping the channel and go, "What the hell is this?" And they'd be speaking in some language. God knows what language and it was, and they'd be playing some sport that you never freaking. I mean, not even close to like baseball or football. I mean, just random kind of weird ass stuff. But it would like it get you kind of like for a couple seconds or a couple minutes or whatever. Be like, wow, this is really odd. I've never seen this before. So that was cool to, I mean, just kind of expand your overall knowledge of some of the other shit
from other
that's
countries
going on in the world, right? Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can't really do that with like a soap opera from India or something like that. I mean, you can sit there and watch that for a couple seconds, but a sporting event, you can kind of pick up what's going on, and I mean, scoring might be kind of hard to understand, but at least you can kind of at least grasp some of the concepts of what they're doing. And yeah, it's just kind of odd, just you never knew what you were going to get. It was kind of like the Wild West. You never knew what was going to be on. So then those days are gone. I mean, I guess the internet, is in its infancy was very similar to that, to where it was just kind of wide open and not a whole lot of regulation, you could just go and do whatever you wanted without any kind of limitations. And now it's far more regulated than it ever has been.
Yeah, I don't know much about the early internet, as you say. Like, I
Yeah.
don't. When the internet, quote unquote, the internet first came out, I didn't understand what it was.
Really?
I didn't understand why anybody got on the internet.
Yeah.
I didn't have any reason to use it.
Right.
Like, my experience with the internet was a dial-up 56K modem, whatever it was,
I had that too.
with a monthly subscription to AOL.com.
Yep. Had that too. Yep.
And it was chat rooms where you typed in, you talked to people in a chat room, and basically it was you thought you was talking to a girl in Philadelphia, and you were desperately just trying to type sex to them, and that was it. And this and undoubtedly the person on the other end was a 46-year-old bald fat guy.
Yep.
Because there would be no reason some female
in
Philadelphia was trying to entertain me with sex words.
Right.
And that was the end. I didn't even understand multiplayer video gaming. Like, who cares? Like, I did not give a fuck about that. I wanted my single player video game experience, and I wanted my, I don't know. I mean, I just didn't understand what the internet was.
I think people now trying to relate to that just would have a hard concept or a hard time understanding the limitations you had by bandwidth and what you could do. I remember just like trying to download a picture could take 4 minutes, and that was fast. It's just like, oh wow, I've downloaded a picture. It's like, wow, holy crap.
Yeah, it was
now if it's kind of like instantaneous, you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with this thing?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So it was a lot different back then, but and I don't know that there's a really good way to describe it unless you kind of lived through it and had to go through the hurdles of, okay, well, this modem isn't fast enough anymore, and now I got to go spend $200 on another modem that's going to be out of date in 6 months. And it was just a kind of a constant battle to try and keep up with staying at that leading edge of technology. And then at some point you just kind of have to give up and just say, hey, I'm going to wait a little bit and not try and be on that leading edge, because you're never gonna maintain it.
And I think we can't now.
Right. Oh yeah, just building like a gaming PC.
Yeah.
I built this one like, I don't know, like 2 years ago, and it's not out of date by any means, but what I paid for it, I could buy 2 of them now, probably. It's just crazy. I mean, just and then I built some PCs back in the day, in the mid '90s and stuff, and it was easy. It seemed like it was easy back then, but you're always chasing sound cards and video cards, and now I want to play this game or I want to do this application, but I can't because it doesn't support my sound card, which just seems so stupid. But it was always a constant battle to try and keep up with what the current and the most latest technology was.
I imagine back then there was a lack of standardization, and there was probably a lot more confusion as opposed to nowadays, where most everything has been standardized to such a degree where it's hard for it not to work together anymore. You may have software problems where things need to be updated, or something updated and broke something else or whatever, but as far as hardware connecting together and supposedly talking, it's all easier now than it was 30 years ago.
That and you can go watch 30 people review a sound card and what it does for them and how it works for them. Back then, I mean, it was just like, well, here's the 3 options you have. I hope you pick the right one.
Yeah.
So you didn't have the infrastructure of being able to go to YouTube and trying to diagnose okay, well, what's the best way that I can do this? What's the most economical way that I can do this?
Yeah. What are other people that deal with this shit all day long and made
Right,
a living off of dealing
right,
with this shit? What do they say
right,
about this topic?
right.
Yeah.
And back then, it was just like crapshoot. It's just like, okay, well, I hope this works.
And hopefully you knew somebody that knew something about something.
Yeah, I mean, we had a place called Fry's Electronics, which was a kind of like a warehouse, like almost like a like a Costco type of place for like computer parts and peripherals and TVs and DVDs and all that kind of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
they had some very knowledgeable guys that worked in there that if you kind of told them what you were doing, they'd kind of lead you in the right way towards what you needed.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always seemed like they also were like trying to sell shit. So um you wouldn't always get exactly what you needed. But I mean, I just remember, okay, well, I've done all this now, and guess what? My CD-ROM drive or my DVD-ROM drive now won't talk to my um to the other setups that I just bought. So now I got to go buy that. It was just chasing your tail, you know.
Yep.
And I got to the point where it's like I'm never building another computer. I'm just going to go buy a stupid HP one from Best Buy, and
Mm-hmm. It's already
I
put
don't know.
together.
I don't know that I'm going to do any gaming on it. I'm just going to use it for music and other stuff. And I guess within the past couple of years, I'm like, I'll go buy another PC. And I didn't build this one. I had it built by a company out in California, and it's been good so far. I mean, I haven't really had to do any. I updated the RAM on it. That's not the only thing that I did to it. But
You just added the same brand, same kind.
yeah, yeah.
So you took it from 16 gigabytes to 32 gigabytes.
I took it from 32 to 64.
Jesus fucking
Yeah,
Christ.
yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And well, you think about that flight sim, man. It's trying to load these maps that are super detailed, and when you're flying along, you don't want to see the shit kind of loading in as you go. You want it to already kind of be preloaded, and the RAM really helped with that. It makes it, man, just super flawless. Just, I mean, even and when the game was first released, it was just you were kind of flying like propeller-driven planes that would cruise, maybe at a maximum of 400 knots or so. And
Okay.
now there's a whole bunch of jets and military aircraft that travel at 2-3 times that speed. So you think about the computer trying to load all that information at one rate and then trying to triple it and double it in speed. It can't be anything but choppy, So I had to kind of upgrade the RAM to be able to get it to kind of run more seamlessly. It's not perfect by any means, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was at 32.
Yeah. Okay. I can dig that. I got 32 gigs in mine,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that's all I was going to need for a long
Ever,
time.
right? Yeah. Right.
And then you tell me you got 64, and now I'm feeling like maybe my dick isn't as big as I thought it was.
Yeah, it was kind of a shitty because it took me a while to actually get it. I think some of the chip issues that we're having with importing from Korea and from probably China.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while to actually. I mean, I bought them on Amazon, and right as I bought them, they said, "Oh, this is going to take 6 weeks to get." I'm like, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, whatever.
You're still going to be here in 6 weeks, so
Right,
it
yeah,
is
that's
what
what I
it
said.
is.
And it wasn't that much more inexpensive than I could have got someplace else, but I like how they drop it off at the gate. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, same here, man.
uh,
I hate giving Jeffrey Bezos any more of my fucking
oh,
money,
me
but
too,
he
man.
just
God, I give
makes it
them
so fucking easy.
living kind of rural like you do and kind of like I do. It's almost become a necessity to have Amazon Prime.
And that's the standard of living,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So like we've got a supercomputer that we carry with us everywhere we go.
Hmm.
We've got a vehicle that can pretty much reliable. You're not afraid it's going to break down, every time
Right.
you take it out. You've got instant global news, damn near instant, as fast as,
Hmm.
the data can travel across. It's like you have almost any pick in America right now. You have almost any
Yeah.
kind of food you can possibly fucking imagine. You can stock it
Right.
in your domicile
Sure.
that is regulated at exactly 71 degrees in every room of
Yeah.
your house,
Yeah.
or whatever. It's like our standard of living is so fucking high. I can't even imagine taking a step backwards. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's the impulse buy now. The internet helps us
Oh
with it
yeah, man.
because used to it was like a cool lighter at the checkout stand or like
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
a pack of gum or whatever the fuck. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'll go ahead and pick this up and buy it. But now it's like, I'll just buy this computer part for $35 from Amazon. It'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I get my credit card statement. It's like, fuck, I bought a lot on Amazon.
Yeah. Shit.
But it is super convenient. Man, I've seen Amazon trucks back in my neck of the woods here. Like
They're all over the place.
come down my road 3 times during one day.
Yeah. It's amazing because you never saw an Amazon delivery truck 10 years ago.
Never.
And
No.
maybe even 5 years ago, you never saw one.
No, and even driving for work that I do across state lines and spending quite a bit of time on the road. Those Amazon trucks, they're probably half of all the trucks on the road now.
It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
That shit, because it used to all just be UPS.
Yeah,
FedEx.
or mom and dad freight carriers and stuff like that.
And there wasn't.
Man, you can't see anything but prime trucks now.
Yeah, they're all over the fucking place. They're everywhere. People didn't order nearly as much from Amazon 5 years ago than what they do now.
Isn't it funny how it started out as just like a book company or like a way to get books online?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what a genius idea.
Yeah.
I remember ordering a couple of books from Amazon when it was just after they started doing knickknacks and other shit.
Yeah.
My wife told me about it and she was like, "Oh, you know that book that you say that you think you want? Just order it from Amazon." And I was like, "Order it from Amazon? What do you mean?" And she's like, "Well, get on the internet that we pay for on the computer and order it from Amazon." I'm like, "I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Just order it for me."
Yeah. Now it's just like there's nothing they don't carry now.
Yeah.
I suppose you can't buy ammo or a firearm or
no, they're too
explosives or
they're too left-leaning for that.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of the craziest thing that I've ever bought on Amazon. I bought some soup recently.
Oh yeah,
it was
they do
super
food
cheap.
now.
Yeah, it was super cheap. Stuff that I actually eat. So that was kind of cool.
Campbell's Thick and Chunky, I imagine.
No, this was
split pea soup.
No, it was what the hell is it? Clam chowder, New England clam chowder.
The red or the white?
The white.
You
don't like that?
Really? That's from Ace Ventura. He's trying to get into the club, and the guy was like, "What's the password?" And Ace Ventura goes, "New England clam chowder." And the guy goes, "The red or the white?" And Ace goes, "Oh fuck, I can never remember that." White?
I think New England is always white. I thought Manhattan clam chowder was red.
Right? Yeah, I don't have any idea what it is, but that's literally my neural net. That's the way it's wired. Anytime anybody says New England clam chowder, I'm like, oh, Ace Ventura.
Yeah. I bought just random stupid stuff on there, saw blades and
duct tape, ski mask,
Oh
rope.
yeah. Rope, yeah, lime, bleach,
lime, a shovel,
lime and a shovel and some rope and duct tape. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. And I order off eBay a lot too.
Oh yeah, I just made an eBay account recently, and I'm starting to sell some of my bullshit that I've got stacked up at the house.
Cool. Yeah, I've been doing that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
You should send me your eBay credentials so I can kind
of
like. Yeah, you should do that.
I will. I've got like four or five things still up on there, and they probably won't sell. They're just kind of like somebody's really got to be the right buyer for them. But I figured, shit.
There's an audience for everything.
Yeah, I would think so. I
Yeah.
mean, it was as an example, I have bunch of old football jerseys and hockey jerseys and stuff like that. Stuff that I was real proud of a long time ago. Anymore, it's just like, I really don't care so much about that stuff. And they're all really cool. And they're all authentic. And I paid a lot for them back in the day. So I'm not trying to give them away or anything. So I got them marked correctly for what they're worth.
Yeah.
And I had one on there that was kind of one of the lesser ones that I had that I wasn't kind of too crazy about. And I had it on for over a year, and just out of the blue, I get this message from another eBay user saying, "How quick can you get this to us?" I'm like, "Well, you got to buy it."
Yeah.
You know, that type of deal. And turns out that this lady and her husband were going to the NHL All-Star game, and they were going to meet this guy whose jersey I had, and it wasn't like one that he wore or anything like that. It was just a replica, but it was an authentic replica. And dude, it sat on eBay for 2-3 years probably with not even a sniff. I mean, just like, and you can tell how many people are watching it or have viewed it and stuff. And it was probably the lowest of all of them.
Yeah.
And she ended up paying me like $500 for it.
God, dog.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, what the hell else do I have that I have, no interest in that I can get rid of? And like you said, there's a market for everything.
There is, yeah. And I dreamt up the idea whenever I was kind of cleaning up around my place. I'm like, man, I've collected a lot of little knicknacks and little bullshit.
That stuff like that for sure will sell.
Eventually, sure it will. Like, I don't need 45 pocket knives. Like, maybe they're all special to me, but, I'm married now, I only need one pocket knife, really.
Right. Well, you got your everyday carry knife and then knives that have their own specific use.
Yeah.
Like I got one that I kind of open up mail with, and another ones that I open up boxes with, just stuff like that. I get it. I got a ton of pocket knives too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flashlights, pocket knives, that kind of stuff.
Leathermans, Gerbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Old graphics cards, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know that there's a real market for old computer parts,
I don't know if there is either, but I'm going to find out.
It's not like somebody's going to go, like they'd go buy or try and rebuild like a 65 vet, need the original parts for it. Nobody's going to go back, man, I want to build me a 1992 Amiga computer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to need the shitty graphics card, and I just don't think that there's a market for that. Maybe I'm wrong.
No,
but
I think you're probably right, but I think there is a few maybe use cases where somebody's like interested to take some of the old components and test them, or just see if they can boutique put something together.
Sure.
But I have heard that some of the CRT monitors are kind of making a comeback as far as demand. Yeah, because of
why would that be?
Because of the technology, the way the CRT monitors were made.
Okay.
There's just something about the display with old video game systems.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's actually, if you've got any old CRT monitors chilling from way back in the day, those may actually be more desirable now than they were, say, 10 years ago.
Yeah. Pretty much the only thing that I was successful in selling on eBay, as far as computer stuff goes, was I had 2 old original Macintosh computers. One was the original 128K model, and the second one was the one that had a meg worth of memory.
A fucking meg, man.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So I ended up selling those, and I didn't have everything. I had the keyboards, and I think I had one mouse. And I ended up getting, this guy was clearly a collector. He bought both of them. And I think I got just under $500 for both of those too.
Nice.
And dude, why I've carried them across the country, I don't know. They just sat in my garage all this time. And this was when I first got into selling stuff on eBay. I'm like, man, I'm just gonna at least put them up and see what I could get for them. And they sold within a month, probably.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have definitely got to dig through my shit and start taking pictures and trying to
Yep.
figure out a
And dude,
price
it's
point.
super easy. You can do it all right from your phone. The eBay app makes it super easy to post it and update it, and you can monitor it.
Yeah, yeah,
They just made it very, very user friendly.
yep. Yeah, I've sold, I think, 5 Super Nintendo games on there so
Oh
far.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've
Yeah.
I've had to learn a little bit about what shipping is supposed to, like, what the demand, like what are you supposed to do
Yeah.
to ship stuff, and how to
Yeah.
how to get the label going on and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. See, I don't do any of my own. I guess I make my own labels. I don't print them out like I probably should. I just once I've got it sold, it's pretty much I just got to get it to them.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
well, I mean, eBay offers the service to sell you the shipping label.
right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then when I was working on my truck, I pulled a bunch of parts off of it, and I sold probably 90% of the parts that I pulled off. That I had replaced with newer stuff. I sold a steering wheel, a fuel gauge, a bunch of just little kind of onesie twosie little parts that people want the original stuff. So and it all worked. It was just kind of like old, So
Yeah.
I wanted to update with some newer stuff, and all
Hmm.
that stuff sold like hotcakes, man. I mean, it was
Hell yeah.
cool. So
Pretty cool.
so yeah, man. I know you got to probably run here pretty quick, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's about time for me to start making dinner. I'm gonna be cooking
What are you
pork
making?
pork chops,
Ooh, that sounds
uh
good.
some of the sheep that I cut up the other day.
Cool.
Yeah, and then filet mignon.
Ooh,
And then so yeah, I'm making 3 different kinds of meat because my family's picky as fuck.
yeah,
And then I'll probably be making some baby like new potatoes and then
nice.
green beans or broccoli, some green vegetable.
That sounds good, man.
Yeah, it'll take me about an hour to get it all put together.
Oh yeah,
And then we'll be eating that, and then I'll probably be free for the rest of the night. Either we got to make a decision to watch a movie tonight before I go to
yeah,
bed,
yeah.
or I'm doing 2 hours of video games. So we'll just see how that goes.
That's cool. I'm
Yeah,
taking tomorrow off. I'm not working tomorrow. I worked Saturday, so I'm
yeah, man.
I got to fly to San Antonio on Wednesday. I'll be down there for Thursday, and then I fly home Friday, and then the following week I fly to the end of the week I fly to San Diego. So, um, and I was just in Nebraska on Thursday and Friday and Saturday of this week, so I've been kind of all over the place the
Wow.
past couple weeks. Yeah,
Yeah, that's wild. That's
and I
crazy,
haven't
man.
really flown in a while, so the San Antonio trip is gonna give me the taste of what flying is like now, and
Mm,
I'm just really not looking forward to it. And of course, I can't get a direct flight from Tulsa to San Antonio. I got to go through Dallas and change planes, and
God dang it.
yeah, it's like a 25-minute flight to Dallas, and then another 30-minute flight, or another 25-minute flight. It's just like, but tell you what, I'm not driving 10 hours down there. That's just not
Yeah,
happening.
yeah. I'm pretty tired of driving 10 to 15 hours to get someplace.
Yeah, it's just it's time consuming, and I just feel so unproductive while I'm just sitting there. There's only
Books
so
on
much I.
tape.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. Trust me. I listen to podcasts and books on tape and all that kind of stuff. But it just gets to a point where it's just like, man, I'm 4 hours into this. I got another 4 hours to go.
My
It's
ass
just,
hurts.
what could I be doing right now that would be more productive than this? And,
Yeah, you'll
you know,
be
I'll be what?
yeah, I'm sorry. You'll be in the video game, or you'll be on the plane looking out the
Hmm.
window thinking of the video game. You're like, oh man, that looks exactly like it is in
Yeah.
Microsoft
Yeah.
Flight Simulator.
I've done that before. Um, when I do some longer road trips, the week before or so, I'll plan it and go, okay, well, what's the closest little airport to where I'm going, and then I'll fly from here, and then I'll fly to where it's at. Usually, obviously, it takes a lot less time to fly than it does to drive to these places, but it gives you
Yeah,
kind of like a visualization of what's around there, what rivers and lakes and mountains sometimes, and it makes it kind of cool. And then when I get there, I'll be like, okay, yeah, that's where the airport is. That's where this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So, um, yeah, man, that's it.
Cool.
That's all I got going on, really.
Yeah. Well,
We ought to do this again. I know we talked about some paranormal stuff
yeah.
when I saw you down there in Oklahoma City last time.
Yeah.
Maybe we and maybe we don't wait this long, but maybe we do like a Halloween show or something.
Yeah, or we could do one. Yeah, maybe we could do that. We can talk about some scheduling and stuff.
Yeah.
I've got. I'd love to do another podcast sometime soon. Sooner than that, maybe even with you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just let me know, man.
Because you're super engaged, super intelligent. You remember a lot of stuff. You're like, yeah. So I'd very much like. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk to me too.
Oh yeah, dude, I enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah, Mister SunDevil Dave. I appreciate that.
All right, bro. We'll
yeah.
give me a call in the next couple of weeks, and we'll get it hooked up.
Yeah. I'll definitely do that. I'll send you a text message, give you a call. We'll figure it out. We'll maybe even make some talking points so that we don't forget something. And
Sure.
yeah, for sure, man. I'm down to talk about some spiritual, spooky stuff.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I got some stories, man.
I'm
telling you.
I'm ready to hear it because I try to soak it all up, man. I try to get a little bit because any bit of that stuff helps to broaden my worldview.
Sure.
Even if it doesn't convince me.
Yeah, even if it may sound like bullshit and sound like, oh well, how could that happen? You know, it's like, well, I wouldn't lie to you. I mean, I got no reason to lie. You know?
there's a lot of shit I don't know, and I know that there's a lot of shit that I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I'm no Socrates, but
so
I do know. Yeah, Socrates. Yeah, Socrates, man.
All right, man. Okay. Well, have a good week, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll hit you up.
All right, bud. We'll see you.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.
Disconnected. So if you like this sort of podcast, give me a like, and if you dislike it, then give me a big fat dislike and subscribe for future content, or unsubscribe if you fucking hate this shit. Leave a comment down below if you have anything that you'd like to say about the content. This is Protodead. Share with a buddy if you want to share. Appreciate you listening this far very much, and I'll catch you on the flip-flop.